And so I will start now. Please let us know if you have a problem with that or you need to talk about the recording, and I will pass it to Sugandha.
Okay. Hi, everyone. So like Meg mentioned, I'm also a first-year education and globalization student, and I'm currently sitting in India. And one of the main inspirations behind this workshop was our observations in the program itself, how all of us utilized our space differently. So I'm really looking forward to our workshop, and thanks for being here. And I'll pass it on to Núria.
Hi, I'm Núria, and like Meg and Sugandha, I'm also a first-year education and globalization student from the University of Paulo. And I'm really looking forward to doing this workshop with you and exploring this theme. So yeah, very nice to meet you.
Thanks, Núria. Thanks, Sugandha. Okay, I'm going to share my screen again and give you a little idea of what we'll be doing today. So we're starting with introductions. We'll do mini introductions between each other as well. We'll put you in breakout rooms to make it go a little bit faster, just so we don't have to share all in the main room, but we'll all have an opportunity to share. We're going to give you a little bit of background of what we're talking about, some theories and findings. We'll do a group activity, some discussion together, reflection, poll, and closing. So for our first activity, I want to invite you to relax for a second, sit back in your chair, maybe put your feet on the ground and look around your room. Pay attention to the light in your room, the colors in your room. Maybe there's like scents in your room. Maybe you can feel something with your fingers. Just take a moment to be present in your space. Look around your space, look around your room, or look around wherever you are. And if you can, find something close to you in your room or one of your items, if you're not in your room, that represents something about you or has a special story that you could share with us. Any type of item, any type of picture. It could be a picture on your phone if you're not at home and don't have access to your things. But yeah, look around your room, notice the colors, notice the items, notice the things around you, and pick one object, one thing that is special to you, tells a story. You can pick a photo on your phone again if you don't have an item. And then we're going to ask you to please share your name. You can share where you're from or something about you, and then show us your item. When you show us your item, you can share with us why it's special, why it's reflective of you, what's the story behind your item, or you can just show us your item. So I'm going to give you about 1 minute to grab your item or pick your item. And again, when we share, don't feel like you have to share a lot. Don't feel like you have to share everything. You can just share your name and show us your item, whatever you're comfortable with. Okay, I'm going to give you 1 minute. I'm also going to grab my item. Okay, before we put you in breakout rooms, I wanted to share my item with you just to give you like an idea of the activity. This is one of the only plants in my room that is alive right now. I have 3 other ones that are very dead, which is okay. It's hard to keep plants alive. So this is reflective of me right now because while there's some things like growing, there's other things that might be struggling a little bit. So this is really special to me because I'm like, oh yeah, look how happy it is. And like, you can thrive and other parts cannot thrive, and that's okay. Núria, could I ask you to share as an example too before we put people in breakout rooms?
Of course. So I'm Núria and I'm from Spain. And the object I've chosen is this little figure here. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it well, but it's a ferry. And I chose it because right before coming to Finland, before heading to the airport, I was standing in my room, which was completely empty with my mom. And she saw that this ferry was sitting in my bedside table. And she told me like, oh, you should bring it with you to Finland because she gave gave it to me when I was 5 because I had an obsession with fairies at the moment. So I put it in my back pocket and I carried it with me to Finland, and now it's sitting in my bedside table here, and it's really important for me.
Núria, thanks for the reminder too that I forgot my own instructions to share where you're from. I'm from the United States. Sugandha, did you want to share too?
Oh, sure, I can. The breakout rooms are also open now. I'll quickly share. This is my item. It's a mug that I got on one of my solo trips during university. And I don't know if you can see it. It's a big coffee mug and it's always there on my table. Yes. And I think 2 people have just joined us. In case they don't know, we're doing an icebreaker activity, and you can join your respective room and you can share an item which is of significance to you within that room, and of course your name. So I hope you can join the rooms now.
Yeah, so we'll give you about 3 minutes, but come back if you're done sooner. Have fun.
I think Núria is not a co-host.
Oh, sorry, Núria. Are you a co-host?
It shows me that I am, yeah.
But why was I getting to assign you then? Meg was not showing, but it was showing unassigned for me.
I don't know. That's weird.
Yeah. Okay, it's going well so far.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. After this, Sugandha, did you want to share slides because it's designing your learning space, or I can? I just wasn't sure.
If you can, that's great.
Definitely.
Then your recording as well, right? Oh, is this being recorded right now?
I think so.
Can you pause it?
Okay, I don't.
I hope you get.
What is that, Sugandha? Sorry.
No, I'll just do the random assign so that familiar people don't get with each other.
Hello, welcome back. I hope that you all got enough time to share or just chat in general. We don't have time for everyone to share, but does anyone want to introduce themselves to a larger group and maybe just show your item? It can be very quick. Only if you want to, you don't have to. I'm just tired of hearing myself talk. Oh, hi, Ross. Okay, Ross has some yarn. Very cool. Very finished. Thank you for sharing. Okay, I'm gonna share my.
Oh, no, go.
Ooh, no, go ahead.
Okay, I have my old book from, hi everyone, my name is Mel, and this is my old notebook from my time in the LET program. And this is one of many. And I like looking at it every now and again just to reminisce on how much I've grown since then.
Very cool. Where are you from, Mel?
I am from the United States. More specifically, I am from California.
West Coast. Me too. Also from the West Coast. Very cool.
Represent.
Yeah, thank you. Ross, where are you from again? You were my professor, but I can't remember. I'm sorry.
Originally from England.
Okay, that's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure I knew. Cool. Thank you all. Okay, let's go back to our PowerPoint, and now I will pass it to Sugandha.
Okay, great. So this will be our first or second activity. So for this, I hope you have a pen and a paper. And if you don't, you can quickly grab one, or you can choose to draw it on your phones or whatever you feel comfortable with. But I want you to focus on any learning space that you feel has had the most impact on your learning, and really focus on its physical features. It can be any environment, any space. Really think hard on it. And for me personally, I can show you my example. It was my playground here. Oh, can you pin me? Yeah, thanks. So for me, this was the learning space, these benches in my school, because I used to do a lot of sports and this is where I would come and sit down. So this is a map of my school. So really focus on the physical features of any learning space that you think, or anything that comes to your mind when you think of learning. And maybe draw a rough sketch, or if you don't want to draw, maybe write just the physical features of it. What colors were there? Were there walls? Something like that. And maybe as an example, Meg, do you want to share yours as well?
Yeah, so mine's quite a bit different. Mine's not like a blueprint like Sugandha's, and it's of a coffee shop that I really enjoyed studying in back in the US in Seattle. So Sugandha's was like a educational space, and mine's like a coffee shop that I just really loved to study at. It was very big. There was lots of books and a loft area and coffee. So this is where I learned. So that's like another example that you can draw.
Núria, do you like to share yours as well, maybe?
Sure. So I'm a terrible drawer, so sorry about that. But this is my space. This would be me when I was a kid, and this would be my grandpa. And I didn't start school until I was 5, and before that, I spent a lot of time with my grandpa, and he taught me to read, and he taught me math, and we often play chess together. And this is the first learning space that came up for me.
Thank you so much. That was really cute. But I hope you have an example in mind or a certain space in mind. And for this, maybe 7 minutes to everyone. And if you're done, you can put a thumbs up. That would be great. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Unmute yourself. Sorry for the abrupt break, but if you need more time, let me know. I hope most of you are done. Maybe a couple of more minutes. Okay, great. I know Elena is done. Mel is done. Anybody else do you need? Okay, great. Okay. Seems like most of you are done. Would anybody like to share at this point? If not, you will get a chance to share later as well. But if you're suddenly feeling like you want to share with the rest of us, you're more than welcome to.
I think I could share.
Sure.
I can share my drawing here, although I can't see myself right now. Wait a minute. So I'm not sure if you can see it at all, but here it is. I drew like a corridor from like lower secondary or upper secondary school, but it could as well be university, I guess, because they're like corridors have always been places where I end up discussing with people for way longer than any of us intend to and learn in the process. And it's also something like it's a space where I learn after formal experiences or before formal experiences of learning. So like cramming for exams and having that clicking moment, like, oh, now I see how it goes, but also reflecting on a lesson critically and just being like, no way, I don't think that's true because this or because that. So those moments have been really important for my learning processes. Corridors are my space of learning.
Thank you so much for sharing, Elena. And I completely agree with you. I think corridors were a big part of my learning experience as well. Would anybody like to have a go? And if not, it's completely fine. Okay, so maybe we can, yeah, somebody has raised their hand. Go ahead, Bruno.
Yeah, well, yeah, sorry. I don't know if you can see. No, okay, sorry, I will stop the blurring if I'm able. Yes, sorry for, I don't know if you can see, but it says Holo Cafe, and that's me discussing about anything with friends over coffee. And I think that for me, those have been one of the most meaningful learning experiences as well. So happening outside of the classroom. So on that connection with Elena, I agree that sometimes those spaces can create more meaningful learning than what it's created specifically for learning. So that was mine.
Yeah, we could see it, and it was really well made, and it reminds me of the coffee chats. So thank you for sharing. Anybody else? Or if not, we can move ahead. Okay, Marie, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. I drew my elementary school window because I like looking out of it and I have a lot of fond memories, and I was surprised to like be able to remember all of the little dangles that were on the window, like some weather things and then a little crystal, and then being with friends, and then we would do nature journaling, talking about the outside, and then this was our playground as well that I would sit and look at while I was doing my work and talking to friends and stuff. So I definitely learned a lot also from that. Well, it wasn't a forest, but we called it the forest.
Sorry, I was on mute. Thank you so much for sharing, Marie. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of your own window as well. Mel, go ahead. Would you like to share?
Yeah, I'm not sure. So you can see that. But I just drew those. This is Mr. Crow's 7th grade classroom. And I distinctly remember one of the times that he was talking to us one day, because somebody asked about like the layout of his room, and he actually went for like 30 minutes straight, just started talking about like the physical spaces in the room and why they're important. So like he did like a lot of DIY stuff in his own classroom. So he like raised up the front of the place to have like a stage. You know those like it's, I think they're in like every single OLU classroom now, but you know those like cameras that like shoot downwards so that you can like share what you're writing about. He had that like back in 1985 or whatever he started teaching. He made his own, which I thought was really cool. I think the biggest thing though for him was like, because he always had like class projects in which he would make maps with the class because he was really into geography, and you'd always have all the class projects like put on all of the walls. And basically his kind of philosophy, because he also put up a bunch of like educational posters and stuff. So his philosophy, I remember him talking about this to us when we were like in 7th grade, was to like, if and when a student is just not paying attention in class, that when they look around the room, they'll like look at something that will remind them of something that is interesting. For example, like on the ceiling was a bunch of like miniatures of that he made of like different, I think, NASA rockets and like stuff like that. It was just like a really cool room. And I think now that I'm a teacher myself, I always think about that, like what he was talking about and the utilization of space and how actually important it can be for learning.
Yeah, thank you so much. That sounds wonderful, and you really painted a picture with it. So we'll move on ahead with some theories and findings. And I'll just share my screen. and I'll pass it over to Núria.
Yes, so now very briefly, I'm gonna give you sort of a framework of the main theory and findings of this topic. So hopefully those will be helpful for you to later develop on and reflect on during the rest of the activities. But firstly, when talking about space utilization, it's relevant to know that physical space is not necessarily a passive decor or background. And in the case of schools, the spaces are built and organized to produce specific social interactions. And physical space is a significant part of creating positive social interactions and relations. So, for example, as Mel's drawing about his teacher's classroom, we can see how the utilization of space has an impact on how students feel in it. So, for example, if a teacher really values students' contributions and students giving their opinions to put photos of their projects in the wall, can create that sort of environment, for example. And then the productive activities in the social and material world simultaneously transform and change our psychological functions. And finally, when talking about the socialization aspect of it, to strongly identify with a place or a school, it helps to be involved in the social construction, and therefore how the environment invites and allows students to participate will contribute to how they feel in the space. So it's important to think about socialization and space utilization as something that's interlinked, and we cannot understand one without the other. And about this interlink between the two, we'll give you some examples about that in the following slide. Yes. So now we'll talk a little about alternative learning spaces and informal learning. So informal learning spaces provide valuable opportunities for innovative new identities. And when talking about informative learning spaces, it's important to note that research shows that students spend 3 times more in informal learning spaces than they do in formal learning spaces. So informal learning spaces, they are characterized by a non-hierarchical structure, which allows students to feel more comfortable and relaxed, and in a way they are outside the formal learning institution. So that allows for more non-hierarchical and comfortable conversations. So an example of an alternative learning space and an informal learning would be learning commons. Learning commons are guided by the principle of exchange. They are designed to promote a culture of freedom, to enhance movement and flow, and they have a non-hierarchical structure, or they don't have a structure at all. Learning commons are similar to libraries and classrooms, and they are a shared space for meetings and socializing. And the architecture and the furnishing of these learning commons are particularly important to the character of the rooms, because spaces are often designed to be rearranged by users according to their needs. And if you study in the University of Oulu, an example of learning commons could be some spaces in the Telus room. Then when talking about alternative pedagogical practices, some of these you might already know, but practices such as the flipped classrooms, collaborative and problem-based learning, or digital innovations, these pedagogical practices combine the socialization and the physical aspects. Because, for example, for a successful collaborative learning, we need to make sure that the space allows for the cooperation between students, they are able to see themselves, sit face to face, and that it is adapted to their needs. And now I'm going to give you 2 examples of these informal spaces. So, for example, found spaces would be empty classrooms or hallways, study spaces, corridors, and other areas, which sometimes, even though they have not been created for that purpose, students find themselves hanging there. So like Elena showed us in her drawing, these found spaces, they are not ruled by the structures of the education institution. So it's a space where sometimes students feel like they belong. And these informal learning spaces provide for valuable opportunities for innovative new identities, and especially in the case of minority students, which might not feel comfortable in the institution itself. In these found spaces, they can find a place that is sort of outside of the main structure of the education institution. And then the Sticky Campus is a campus that is designed to encourage students to linger in the school after class for social encounters and social exchange. And especially in the case of universities, where learning is more self-directed, the boundaries between formal and informal learning become blurred, and learning is often combined with other activities such as eating or socializing. So sticky campuses are a connection of the learning and the social spaces, and ultimately sticky campuses are a place where students would want to stick after lectures. And this would be the main concepts, as long as informal and alternative learning spaces goes. And now I'll pass it on to Meg for the next activity.
Thanks, Núria. I already saw a lot of those concepts come up, like in our pictures and in some of our discussions. Okay, thank you for listening so attentively. But now I will ask you to engage with us, and however you can engage is fine, whether that is to unmute yourself and speak out during this activity or in the chat, both work. But for this activity, we're going to ask you to react to a series of photos and images that we're going to show you. And if you can, I think this works best if everyone can stay off mute, like leave your camera open if you can, and leave your microphone open if you can. And when you see the image, give yourself like less than a second to react. Just say whatever comes to mind, whatever the image, the picture makes you think of, speak out. If you can't use your microphone, that's totally fine. Please type whatever comes to your mind when you see these images. And we're really trying to get whatever your initial reaction is. So try not to think about it, just react. And Sugandha, if you want to go with the photos, you can start now.
Sure. Control.
Airport.
Security.
Power.
USA.
Tiring.
Fear.
Bamboo.
Wow.
Ollie.
A lot of work.
Warmth.
Beautiful.
Natural.
Folly.
Hot.
It's probably hot there, yeah.
Uh-oh.
Aww.
Normality.
Shame.
Nurse.
Control.
Shame.
Alone.
Punishment.
Conventional.
Normal.
Lonely.
Exclusion.
Dance.
Oh, gross.
Uncomfortable.
Gyms.
Gender.
Uncomfortable. PE short.
University of all.
Crowded.
No windows.
No.
Collaborative learning.
A white light.
Cube.
Horrible.
Children.
Control.
US.
Kiddos.
Control.
Conventional.
Scared.
Foucault.
Oh,
Ooh,
Detention.
detention.
lonely.
Good
Boy.
behavior.
Minimal.
Recess.
Spain.
Concrete.
Boring.
Basketball.
Group.
Man-made.
Concrete.
Graduation.
Family.
Finally.
Success.
USA,
USA.
USA.
COVID or pre-COVID.
Rite of passage.
Movie.
Library.
Colors.
Silence.
Peaceful.
Learning.
Reading.
Community space.
Fun.
Protesting.
Privatization.
Initiative.
Active.
Empowerment.
Sure.
Organized.
Youth.
German.
Loud.
Space.
Corporate.
Boring.
Scandinavian.
Sterile.
Sterile.
Advertise.
Google.
Temptation.
Disappointment.
Those damn stairs.
Mickey Mouse color.
Google.
Expensive architecture.
Office.
Architecture.
Interesting.
Cold.
Pretty.
Echo.
Modern.
Emotionless.
Light.
Sterile.
Windows.
History.
Old money.
Tradition.
Old school.
Private.
Warm.
Wealthy.
Strict.
Not for me.
Prestigious.
Expensive.
Oof.
Online.
University.
Pain.
30 questions.
Cameras
And,
off.
Surveillance.
weird.
Security.
Preschool.
Control.
Research.
What's preschool?
Surveillance.
Let's program.
Mm-hmm.
Straight up.
Library.
Family.
Hence.
Teaching.
Asia.
Square.
Resources.
Resource.
Conventional.
Inequality.
Outdoors.
South.
Library.
Winter.
Pretty.
Voodoo.
Home.
Cold.
Pegasus.
Is
Money
the globe in
base.
a different place?
Subway.
Thesis.
Frozen bike lock.
Broken bike lock.
Yeah.
That's one word.
Okay. So maybe I stop sharing for now.
Thank you for participating. It was good that we had so much participation that it was actually like kind of hard to hear people. I think that's a good sign. So I wanted to open up the discussion to the whole group while we have time. And I just was wondering, for those of you who participated, how was that activity for you? Did you enjoy that activity? Did it come up with like good emotions, bad emotions, both? Do you have any questions about that activity?
I thought it was very effective and fun.
I felt very engaged.
Tino, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, I think it was nice when, like, I think most of us used the microphone. So as you said, it almost like collided and you couldn't hear everyone like separately. But I was also like at some points a bit nervous about if I say the first thing that comes to my mind, is it like a bad thing or a good thing? I tried to avoid it. Like avoid overthinking that.
That's a really interesting point. And I'm glad you shared that, because I think maybe that happened for multiple people, because sometimes your first thought, you could be nervous to say it because it's like, oh, is that appropriate? Is that sensitive? And I did notice different reactions, and I liked that there was so many people speaking and typing in the chat, because then when I heard someone say something, I didn't necessarily know who it was. Like, for example, with the playground, that I think is actually in Spain. Someone said Spain. I think it is in Spain, right, Núria?
It is Spain, yeah.
Yeah, like a lot of different things came up for that, like groups, concrete, Spain. And then for another one, someone said bad behavior and someone said good behavior for like the same photo, which was of a little boy alone. So that was also interesting, because it's like, from one aspect, this boy working quietly alone could be seen as good behavior, or is he in detention? Or like the girl alone in the hallway, like is she being punished, or is she trying to get some space alone, or like what is happening there? And the way we react, depending on who we are, is very different. And then at the same time, as Tino pointed out, we might feel the need to censor ourselves, and a part of that activity was hopefully like you get a moment to not censor yourself, because we're all sharing and we're all open to sharing. So thank you for participating. If anyone else wants to share, please do so. I'm wondering if that was like positive or negative. So yeah, share if you want to, or we can move on. I'm sorry, I'm not paying attention to the time, so I'm going to take Sugandha's hint.
Núria, do you want to? Yeah.
Yes. So now we're gonna do a Menti. I'm sending the. Okay. Thank you, Sugandha. So let me know if it works for you, but we're gonna give you 2 prompts related to space utilization, and I am now going to share the screen. So the prompt is to share a space where you felt the most comfortable and relaxed, a learning space, so whatever that might be for you. So own room and our classroom, corridor, cafe. That's so interesting because many of those would be informal learning spaces, like a bed, coffee, gardens with friends, also primary school classroom, art classroom, home. Yeah, so many of those would be
Sauna.
I was just laughing at that too. Sauna.
Yeah.
Maybe focus on the learning aspect of it, where you felt maybe in some learning spaces. Well, they could be.
Yeah, I feel like sauna could also be a learning space.
Yeah,
Good.
sauna is definitely like an untraditional learning space. A lot of people like connect and chat and process things in the sauna.
Yeah, and you definitely feel relaxed there. Okay. Yeah, so there's a couple of people who've written like middle school classroom, a Montessori elementary, art classroom, and primary school. But for the rest of it, it's mainly informal spaces, which is interesting. That's the place where we felt the most comfortable and relaxed. Like there's definitely a pattern there. And a lot of coffee, library, own room, and home. Those seem to be the biggest words. And I don't know if anyone would like to share why they wrote that word. If they have like a special memory attached to it, or is that a place where they often study, or yeah, if anyone would like to share.
I would maybe like to hear from people. How did you take the question? Did you think about like overall mood, or did you think about like in relation to learning? I guess like, do you feel like you were learning while you were comfortable and relaxed in these spaces, or are they just spaces where you also learn and often felt comfortable or relaxed?
At least when I came up with sauna, it was definitely primarily comfortable and relaxed, but I realized that I've also had some good learning experiences there.
Yeah, because I was thinking that sometimes like if I'm first comfortable and relaxed, then I will learn without noticing it. And afterwards I'll be like, wow, that taught me a lot.
Yeah, those are really good points. I feel like it's hard to learn in a place where you're not feeling comfortable and you don't feel like you can express yourself in a safe way. So I think those are really interesting points. And I think Mel had his hand raised. If you want to add.
Oh yeah, I just want to add. I think at least the ones that I put, like my office at work or a cafe or a middle school classroom, they were also, I guess when I associate like learning spaces with this exercise, I think of places where I remember being extremely productive, in the sense of like I'm like doing like completing tasks or like learning stuff or both. I think that's what, to answer Alina's question, that's kind of how I took it.
I'm interested in gardens too, because that's a new one that I haven't seen. And yeah, I guess if you're a gardener, that's like, yeah, that totally makes sense. But I hadn't really thought about outdoor spaces that are not in school in that way.
I think it's Ross's, because I remember her telling us in one of the classes. Yeah.
Yes, I put gardens. I was thinking of, and also that was a space that I drew as well, parents' gardens, grandparents' gardens, could be formal gardens at places, but the outdoor spaces definitely where I feel the most comfortable and relaxed. And yes, I happen to like gardening, so I learn a lot, but also studying in the garden, studying maybe music as well or not, and reading books, making notes, feeling not ever so physically comfortable necessarily, but just enjoying being outside.
Yeah, I really agree with that. Especially coming from Spain, I'm really used to enjoying outdoor spaces for learning and reading, and even taking, like with the pandemic, taking classes outside in gardens and public spaces. And it's definitely something I'm missing here in Finland during the winter, because it's a space where you can feel so calm and relaxed, and learning happens so easily there. Well, thank you all for sharing. Mairead, I think you had your hand raised.
Yeah, I was thinking with our question of how did you come up with these? For me, it's definitely a hard question, because like, where are you most comfortable in learning spaces? For me, it's like, is a learning space somewhere that I've learned that I didn't notice that I was learning? Because then that's more like home or like these informal spaces. Am I trying to think about informal spaces, or is it a more traditional learning space? I don't know. So
yeah, I think that's a really interesting point. Like a space where you felt so comfortable that you didn't even realize you were learning. Yeah. But in the end, it's just everyone takes this prompt in a different way, and that's what's interesting about it, and having such a diverse replies. So okay, now we have another prompt. Let me know if it's working.
I think Tino had his hand up too.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see the notification. Sorry, Tino.
Yeah, thanks. I saw an interesting question on the chat. I think it was Nora who asked, can library also be informal learning space? And I studied informal and formal learning spaces a bit in my bachelor's thesis, and I found out that you could kind of have two different continuums with the space itself. That is it built primarily for learning, like schools, classrooms, or just for something else. But then there's also like the curriculum that is the actions inside the space like going towards learning, or are they like pre-planned? Because in library you can usually decide for yourself what do you want to learn. So it's like on that scale, it's on the other end of the continuum, but it is also like meant for learning, reading, and that sort of stuff. So it's how do you say? It has some kind of two different definitions.
Yeah, definitely. And when talking about libraries, for example, thinking about the library here, like in Oulu, in the city center, if you are familiar with it, there are a lot of sitting spaces, and there's even like study rooms. So maybe there's a space where you can also, there's like a space for learning within the library. But then if, I don't know, thinking about the library in my hometown, it's quite small and there's only space for like the bookshelves. So those would be like two very different approaches of what a library would be. Yeah, that was it. But thank you everyone for participating. Those were really interesting topics you brought. So if someone else would like to share, if not, we'll skip to the next prompt. I'll have to, okay, yeah, here it is. So in this case, could you mention a learning space where you felt stressed or sad?
Can we get the number in chat?
It should notify you if it's the same number, but I can stop sharing and try again, but it should notify you that I changed the slide.
Oh, I already closed it. Can we get the number again? Thanks.
Yes.
Yes, put it in the chat.
Okay. Exam rooms, teacher's office, high school class, bathroom crowded, locker room, Zoom, bad teachers. Yeah, so there's a contrast from the other question where most of the words you typed were informal learning spaces. In here, most of them seem to be in a formal learning space. Of course, there's also people who wrote bed, home, Zoom, which would be in between. Yeah. Then sterile, dark. A lunch hall. Bad teachers. Yeah, so here's a mix of feelings like or adjectives like dark or sterile, which are contribute to us feeling sad or stressed, and also bad teachers, which would be more of the socialization aspect of it. But yeah, it's definitely interesting seeing that most of the words would be allocated in a formal space of a learning institution. Maths classes, math classroom, faculty of education, high school class. Yeah,
University of Oulu.
University of Oulu.
I'm like L1 lecture hall. Should I know where that is? I don't know where that is.
It's specific. Entrance exam. Yeah,
I think L1 is the biggest or one of the biggest lecture halls in the University of Oulu. It's like an auditorium style space.
Okay, thank you, Elena. I did not know that. If anyone would like to share the word they typed or give us some more background on it, it's really interesting to see all of these, like too spacious and noisy. There's definitely a theme with maths. Meg or Sue, if you know who has raised their hand, because I'm not able to
Yeah,
access the
yeah, I think-
notification, sorry.
Yeah, Tino, did you have something to add as well? I think it's okay.
Not
Your,
not to this topic.
oh, your hand was raised.
Sorry.
I think it was
I left
Mel
it.
then. No worries, no worries. Yeah, Mel, you
And
can
Mel
go
has
ahead.
a
Yeah, I'll just go. I think I didn't actually write this one, but the word sterile really kind of describes what makes me stressed out when it comes to just schools in general. All due respect to my own workplace, but also like where I work right now, it feels like a very sterile environment, which I've actually brought up in class, and a lot of the students agree. It's like something about that sterileness that just kind of makes it feel, I don't know, stressful. Because like it feels like you're in a hospital or something, and you're not. You're at school where you're supposed to like hang out and learn. And on top of that, like part of I think a big reason why it feels sterile is because all of the lights in that we use at school are the really energy efficient white halogen lights or whatever they're called. And they're just like, I mean, I know they're like energy efficient, but like they actually really strain my eyes. And whenever I go into a classroom and I'm trying to teach, I always dim it down like 3 to 4 notches, because when those things are on like maximum brightness, it's just too much. Gives me a headache.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. And to the sterilite component of it, I'm now just remembering the drawing you shared of your old classroom where the students' projects were around the walls, hanged on the walls. And I'm thinking, yeah, like sometimes when schools are like, so they seem like a hospital, like so like really neutral colors. It doesn't even feel like it's the children. It feels it doesn't feel like the children belong there, right? Like it's their space. So yeah. Yeah, Meg and Sugandha, if you can tell me who raised their
Yeah.
hand. Sorry, my notifications
Elena,
are
would
not
you like
working.
to share as well?
Yeah, thanks actually. Just looking at these, some of these are less about the physical space and more about other factors. But even so, I'm just thinking of these words and wondering what associations they have with the people who put them in. For example, University of Oulu is of course super like white word. It can refer to almost any of the classrooms, any of the like hallways or the yard areas or anything like that. But yeah, like I'm just thinking about how much it's supposed to be Nordic minimalist design. Oh, well, yeah, the University of Oulu looks like the Legoland in Denmark, I guess. But yeah, I'm just wondering, like, when someone says that a space is making them stressed or sad, like how important it is to go into why. Like, is it physical? Is it social? What is it? And because sometimes, for example, if we're expecting that it's something physical and then it's social, we miss a lot. But of course, we also like might, for example, not take important steps to make a space physically more comfortable if we think that it's something social that makes, for example, a classroom uncomfortable.
Yeah, I was going to ask, do you mean white like the color of the space, or white as in like the students? Because you said University of Oulu is very white. Is that what you said?
No, it's like a white concept, like a
Oh, wide, okay.
Sorry.
Sorry, I heard white, so I was
Yeah.
like, I went a little bit of a different way with your comment. I was like thinking like oh, did the students of color feel like comfortable because there's so many like white
Probably,
students in?
I imagine also that way. So
Yeah, but the whys of it, we'll put you into breakout rooms next, and you can discuss it at length, whether it was your socialization or the physical aspect of it, or was it a combination of both? So we'll do that next. But we have Bruno. Bruno, you have your hand up as well. Would you like to go?
Yeah, am I here or not? Okay, well, I don't know, there's something wrong with my camera. No, I just wanted to add that it's funny to see how same words have appeared here and in the previous one. And I don't know if it's a matter of focusing on what's happening and what is our relationship with those spaces, or what we are doing right there, because I have the feeling that sometimes there is this image of maybe people coming to Finland and taking a look inside a classroom and being like, oh, they have, I don't know, puffs on the floor or something like that. We need to do that, right? And just staying on that really surface level without maybe getting deeper on what's happening on it, right? And you can be in a really innovative space that if you keep doing certain things, nothing's gonna change on your education. Or the other way around, you might be in a really sterile environment without good furniture and so on, but if you're doing things differently, it's gonna feel really different, right? So just commenting on that.
Yeah, definitely. And as Sugandha said, we're now going to put you in breakout rooms so you can discuss this further. But the socialization and the physical space aspect of it go hand by hand and are interlinked. So, and also our personal experiences and background affect how we understand these spaces. So it's like a combination of everything when talking about what made us feel stressed or what made us feel relaxed. Sugandha and Meg, I don't know if anyone else has their hand raised.
Yeah,
like
we did.
Yeah.
We did have two more. Or Tino and Mairead had their hands up. So Tino, you can comment if you like, and then Mairead.
Thanks. There's actually quite many things that I thought of while listening to all these comments, but first, I think, sorry, I don't remember names. Was it Mel who talked about the sterileness of the classrooms, and that it's interesting that some things that are necessarily not like maybe the best for, you know, physical health or like cleaning the spaces or like energy efficiency and stuff, they might be more comfortable to us. So it's also like always a balance between making the most comfortable learning spaces and energy efficient and easy to clean and stuff like that. I actually draw my elementary school classroom, and you can see some rugs in here. I don't know if you catch that, but I don't think you could have those rugs nowadays on the floor because it's not easy to clean. So that's like one I don't know, one thing about it. But also another comment to Bruno, I totally agree with what he said about about not the space itself making a great learning space, because I'm studying the physical learning environments in my master's thesis now, and especially the open plan schools. And what I've read from several researchers is that there's sometimes too simplistic like connection between physical learning spaces and the kind of learning it's supposed to encourage. That's that only the physical space cannot create the learning. You need to have a sense of understanding how you use those spaces, and you can have very creative and collaborative learning in traditional spaces, but you can also use the open or flexible spaces very traditionally. So it's about school culture and ability of teachers to utilize the spaces and all of those things also. So it's very interesting topic. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you said, Tino, and it made me think of technology too, like how technology is used and like, or assumed. Sometimes it's assumed everyone knows how to use Google Drive or email or whatever. But what if they don't? What if they're not familiar with it? And yet that's like the standard. So that's a different form of space, but that's just what your comment reminded me of.
Actually, in one study, they said that teachers usually don't have that high skill with utilizing spaces for learning. You usually use the same kind of space, and we don't actually learn very much of that in our studies.
And then Mairead and Alina had a point. Alina, did you want to make your point really quick? Because you said you have a short comment.
Yeah, just that about using the spaces, for example, throwing out the idea of using the corridors way more in conventional schools than they are now used. During the class time, the corridors are totally empty and used for nothing. I think that's really weird. I've often wondered about that. That's it.
That's something I think University of Oulu I've really enjoyed experiencing, like the empty spaces or the nooks and stuff that you can almost always just like relax there or study. Yeah, Mairead.
This is super interesting. I'm really liking hearing everybody's points about like why does it feel more comfortable? And I feel like especially hearing your example, Mel, of your class and the teacher talking like for a whole half hour about all of the reasons behind everything. Just thinking like maybe wondering where's the line of this is something that the space is doing versus like this is something where we can see that the teacher has invested so much time and energy and passion and love in their space that that students are benefiting from that. And then also just like in my job last year, we, because of COVID and then a choice by the school to like go ahead with architecture, a new renovation thing, there was like this whole, oh look, it's going to be a shiny new sterile beautiful space, right? But then and thinking about like, is that going to be homey? Like the pictures don't look particularly exciting, even if they're, you know, architecturally beautiful. Whereas in the actual teachers' classrooms and the teachers' spaces, they've spent so much specific time and effort thinking about how their environment can be beautiful and inviting and like conducive to learning. And then also just like the lack of time and respect that is kind of built into many like traditional schools. I mean, this wasn't even a traditional school, it was a Montessori school, so they thought a lot specifically about this, but even in that space, there was like a lack of time being proportioned to like me and my colleagues to adjust to new changes in the spaces. And so the administration was like more concerned about, we need to get this renovation done, and like not actually giving teachers enough time, like saying, oh, the environment is so important, this is your space, make it your space, but not necessarily actually making that time for students or teachers to make the space comfortable and welcoming for students. So I don't know, looking at like what resources and time resources and space and physical resources teachers have to create what they want in their space.
Thank you everyone for sharing so much. It's been really interesting to hear what everyone has to say.
Yeah, I think we'll be moving on to the discussions now. And thank you for sharing, and we'll get time to discuss it in even more details. So, Meg, have you opened the rooms?
Yeah, but what are the instructions for the room?
Yeah. So for the rooms, you can discuss why and why you felt certain way, what are the emotions, but focus on who or what made you feel that way. So really focus on the socialization aspect of it. And I know all of you have talked a lot, but if it was the university of was the people, was it a certain thing? What is bringing out those certain emotions, and focus on these spaces, either the positive emotion or the negative emotion. And I think since we are a little short on time in those breakout rooms, if you could come back with me, should we do that or should we?
We can keep it really short. So in the breakout room, feel free to discuss at length if you still have more to talk about, like we've been speaking in the larger room. But our like prompt or question for the breakout room is, if you can you think of exactly who or what, like physically, the person or the thing, what happened that made you feel either happy, safe, like you can learn well, or the opposite, what made you feel unsafe, sad, unable to learn. If you can think about it, if it comes to mind easily. If you can't think of anything, that's okay too. But literally, what was it that helped you in the space?
Yeah.
And we'll give you a couple minutes.
Yeah.
You can always come back if you get tired of the breakout room and you're done talking. But the rooms are open now. How many minutes should we give them?
Maybe 4 or 5.
Okay.
Sorry for rambling. I guess I took up too much time. Bye.
No, you're great. Bye.
Lita.
Okay.
Should I pause the recording again?
Yeah. All right.
I'm gonna like test it out. I'm gonna see if I can do the Zoom poll while sharing.
I can launch it. It's fine.
Because then, yeah, if we launch it, it'll have like this nice background.
Yeah.
But you're gonna launch it, right, Suzu?
Should I launch it right now?
No. When they come back, we should explain it to them. I think we're doing a really good job, by the way.
Yes.
I'm just gonna put myself on mute. I feel like I talk too much. I'm sorry. I'm American.
Thank you.
No, thank you for talking.
Okay. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you had a great, fruitful discussion. And I'm sorry we're short on time, so we won't go much into it. But just to quantify it a bit, what we were discussing throughout, we thought we'll do a quick poll to, can you guys see it now?
Yeah.
To just see if we can quantify it a bit, if there are some similarities or dissimilarities. And you can go ahead and participate in the poll now.
Are we answering this to our entire educational experience, like from primary onwards, or just now at the university, or in what context?
All of your experience, or if you feel like a particular one that stands out to you.
There's a lot of no's so far. Oh, I think everyone's participated now.
Yeah. Okay. Is everybody able to see the results? I'm not sure.
Did you click share results?
Thank you. I did not.
Again, that's why there's 3 of us.
So it's really interesting. We were just trying to identify some of the spaces which we would feel if they represented our identities while we were growing up or going through education or not. But we won't be doing much about these results, and I can share them later. But moving on, can you share the next slide, Meg? Okay, so after this, all of the activities that we have gone so far, I want you to go back to your original drawing, your own learning space that you had designed. I hope you still have it. And identify something that you would like to maybe change in it, in your, in that previous learning space, or maybe you can identify a positive aspect of it that you would like to bring to your current learning space. It can be any change that you feel would make a difference. And I can share here, I mean, what I would like to change, I would maybe add a changing room to my, I'll maybe add a changing room here that should be accessible to everybody, because it was really not safe for us while we were doing all the practice and running tracks. So this would be my design, and this is what I add to my previous learning space. So maybe 5 minutes for everybody to make a change in the learning space. Yes. Meg, can you play the music again? And again, give us a thumbs up when you are done, and go ahead and ask if you have any questions. Is everyone done? Or a couple of more minutes because there's time still left. Oh, well, in case everybody's done, we can start. Maybe if anybody wants to share what were the changes that they would like to make or something that they would like to bring to their current learning space.
Are we raising hands? I can't see the complete view of people.
Yeah, somebody has raised. Yeah, Mel has
Yeah,
raised.
Mel, go ahead.
I think something I would like to bring from the previous learning space to my current learning space would have to be, I guess, like, well, actually, the way I interpreted that actually was like, since I'm now in the classroom, like my classroom, I guess just more freedom. We talked about this in my breakout room, but like more freedom to kind of use and edit and change the space. Basically, the walls in my room are gray. I just want them to not be gray anymore. And I've asked the person who's in charge of painting the walls and who's in charge of that to like change it from a light gray to like, I don't know, maybe like a blue or something different. Also, I'm trying to, yeah, so I guess just the freedom to be able to like do that, because right now it's like you have to get a lot of different permissions, which is understandable because the school prides itself in being very clean, being very like eco-friendly and stuff. But also like, it would be nice if it would feel less, I had the freedom to make it less sterile feeling. Oh yeah, also changing the color of the lights from blazing white to like, I don't know, a nicer tone of yellow or something more pleasing, less eye strain.
Yeah, to quickly add to like Bruno's idea as well, you could do like a handprint. I've seen it in my own school as well, like children paint with their hands.
Exactly, that's what I want to do that so badly. I'm gonna, hopefully I'll get permission, but I definitely want to do that.
That reminds me of school for sure.
Elena?
Yeah, thanks. Like, it's funny because I had the same thing in mind pretty much, that more like ownership of the space for those who use it and less of it for those who just design it from the outside. So for example, just thinking of my corridor example, things like being able to paint on the walls, of course, but also things like more, you know, like boards where you can put up stuff, where you can put up like, I don't know, like ads for your own poetry club or things like that even. Because I'm like, now that I'm thinking back to it, we had these huge boards where you could pin up stuff back in school, but no student ever had the idea that we could use those for anything. Like even in high school, when otherwise they have been quite initiative, and also in lower secondary when we like organized our own course inside the school, like just got it done. We wanted a history elective and we went to the right people and got that. But we were wondering like how to get the word around about this. And not once did it dawn on us that the space would be ours to use, that we could put a like note on the wall to advertise. Like if you want to join a history elective course, come here. Like,
that's a good example of maybe using visual cues in the environment to tell people how they can use. Maybe if it would have read there, feel free to use this board. Maybe you could have.
Yeah, I think it's extremely important when there are spaces but we don't use them. It's really important for us to note that, because one of the main motivations behind this was my observations of, I went to an all-girls university and nobody told us that we could not use the lawns or we could not play but somehow automatically all of us would gravitate towards sitting instead of running in them or playing. And when you go to like these co-ed spaces, you would see them, I mean, there was just chaos, and then you see the literal opposite of it happening. So it's really important for us to note that we're not told when they've said no, but we somehow automatically assume and we never use them. Thank you for sharing.
I liked all these ideas too of having some type of like shared creative project that gets put on the wall. Because in my experience, like words sometimes can be very confusing, or like people ignore signs so easily. Like it's so easy just not to read a sign. But if you make it more creative, or if the students themselves created it, or if it's hand drawn, or if it's like handprints or like a collage, I don't know, like something, then you're more likely to pay attention to the space, and maybe more likely to pay attention to like the function of the space. And then that a positive association or memory with the space also helps you learn and be comfortable and like want to learn. Like if you have positive memories of doing something that doesn't have to do with education or school in the education environment, like in the classroom, that classroom is going to be easier for the students to learn in.
Okay, so we're officially over with the workshop, and we can keep on talking and reflecting about the overall workshop. If you would like to do it here, maybe in breakout rooms, anything works, whatever you're comfortable with, let us know.
I'm not sure if I caught that. Are we?
Yeah, it's the reflection bit of our workshop, so we can keep on talking here, but if you feel more comfortable and productive in breakout rooms, we can do that as well. Or we can keep on sharing here like we were.
I would like to go to breakout rooms to hear some more, a little bit of a different dynamic, so to say. But
okay, we have one.
Anyone else?
Yeah, if
anyone against
supposed...
breakout rooms?
I'm for breakout rooms.
I think breakout rooms sounds nice.
Okay, breakout rooms it is. I think I have them. Just need a
Good
minute.
idea in the chat. Let's go paint Mel's walls. I don't think you're in Olu though, Mel, so there's that problem.
Yeah, but you guys are more than welcome to paint my walls, and then Riku can't say anything because I didn't do it. What am I gonna do?
It's funny about painting walls. My principal asked me for our renovation to go paint walls with my group of kiddos, to like paint a temporary wall. And what happened was, I think I have the picture saved somewhere, I don't know, but one of the students expressed his frustration at life and the world on the wall, and then we had to paint over it. Like the principal told me to paint over it because I don't know what it said, like I don't even remember. And it was largely illegible because he was a second grader, but you know, it's also kind of funny. Like you're gonna give students space to control their learning. You don't know what's gonna happen, or students the opportunity to control their space.
No, I'm sorry. I always forget where you are. Where are you again?
I'm in Kalayoki. I'm gonna type it in the chat.
Okay.
Fish
Either
West Coast. Yeah.
West Coast.
West
are the
Coast.
rooms open to everybody now?
Yeah, can we hop over to breakout rooms?
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
I think we'll join in as well.
I think you have them set so because like I'm assigned to a room, but can I leave the room and go to a different one? Or how do you want me to do this?
You can do whatever, but I'll see which sort of rooms I
Okay.
have created.
Okay.
Okay. Otherwise, I'll have to like close all rooms and open them again.
I don't think I'm assigned to a room. I don't think I'm assigned to a room. Should I just join one? Okay, you're in room 2, so I'll go to room 1, but I'm not even sure. I'm confused what we're supposed to be doing now.
Yeah, me too. I didn't get it. Okay, I guess we'll reflect until 4.
I guess so, but it's a lot of time. I was trying to like talked to Sugu about this in the chat, and she was just like, reflection. And I was like, what does that mean? I don't know. I guess I'll go join a room and like see what people are doing.
Okay,
then
and
come
if
back.
not, we can like close the room till like in a while
guess-
and just end it.
Yeah, I guess so. We
Okay.
probably should have talked about this. We didn't really we didn't really do a closing.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I didn't understand the part that we had to join the rooms. So when I like Zoom asked me to join a room, I thought it was like the other times, like I just, you know, like
Yeah.
didn't click join. Okay. So we joined the room.
Now we are being recorded.
Hello,
Oh,
ma'am.
sorry. Let me stop